Hey guys, so today is part 2 of my 3-part video series talking about ways to lean out, build muscle, kind of how to incorporate kind of a well-rounded lifestyle to help you get results and feel better. And my focus is going to have a lot to do with women, specifically today, just because I think women typically struggle with hormones, and especially as we age, we get into our 40s, 50s, and 60s, and you go through menopause, and you have all these changes happening. A lot of things start to get harder. It gets harder to want to be active. Your energy levels drop. You tend to have issues with weight gain and fluctuation, and there's so many aspects to why that happens. And I'm not here to talk about all of those technical and medical terms and reasons behind that, but I am here to offer some suggestions and some tips on ways that maybe you could incorporate some changes into what your lifestyle, just a basic lifestyle, some suggestions that I think could be helpful to you and help you feel better and kind of get over that this is just the way it's going to be for me, because that's not necessarily the case. So many women that I work with really do struggle with this hormonal shift. I have a lot of people in my groups that are 40, 50, 60, and we're all kind of going through that change, and the struggle is real, and I get it. So I want to make sure that I share as much information with you as well that I'm learning kind of as I help my groups and my group members. So I made a kind of a small list of some things to just kind of consider. If you are struggling, if this is an area that has just been a source of frustration for you and it's just caused you to just not feel good about yourself, and you kind of struggle with feeling like I said that this is just the way it's going to be, and kind of just giving in. Well, don't give up, because there are some ways that you can make some changes. And I'm not saying an extreme diet or what I'm recommending is not unrealistic. Honestly, that's what I think is so great about it. I think many people think that they have to go to the extreme to get results. So I'll get right into the first thing that I have on my list, and most people struggle with this. I think as women, again, we kind of like our sweets, and sugar is a major issue. There's so many things with sugar, and I'm not going to go into the technicals about that either, but I'm not saying you should give up your treats. I still indulge in treats every now and then, and for my birthday I'm sure we'll have cake and ice cream and kind of I'll enjoy my day. But what I'm saying is kind of consider, is it worth it to indulge in treats all the time? Or is it more realistic to think that, once a month we're going to go out and have, indulge in some desserts, or, once a week I'm going to allow myself to have a little something. If you I'm not saying put limitations on it, but if you kind of have a mindset that I'm not giving this up, but it's more important for me to find an alternative and just have it less frequently, you will feel better. And I promise you, even cutting out sugar alone would make a big difference in how you feel and how you look, because your body holds on to that. And as you get older, your body has a harder time regulating blood sugars, and you have that issue as well. And then having diabetes in my family, it's important that we really pay attention to that, even with the boys, and just having conversations about sweets and what it does to our body, and just finding a balance, not a restriction. So that's the first thing, is kind of reevaluating your sugar intake, and just kind of seeing where you can kind of maybe make some substitutions and or just kind of regulate that a little bit. Fruit is a natural sweet food, and it has a lot of sugar in it naturally. So if you're looking for something sweet, fruit is always an option. Again, I wouldn't overdo it with fruit because it is a sugar source, and so kind of watching your food intake can also be a benefit to you, and stick with more vegetables and even some maybe whole grain crackers or something. But just watch your food intake also. I think that can be kind of something we can all overindulge in now and then. Another thing that is a big factor that I think a lot of people, again, if you're in your 40s and up, you probably were in that generation where it was such a, so important that we looked for fat-free and reduced fat and low calorie, and you were reading labels, looking at these things to determine, should I eat this because it's got 150 calories, or, this thing has no fat, so I'm going to go for that. And so we've been kind of conditioned to look at those numbers and then you're not really seeing the big picture. And so honestly, I stay away from a lot of things that are processed anyway. And if something's got a label, you want to look at the ingredients, and you want to look at saturated fat, and you want to look at all these other different elements. So don't get so hung up on picking something just because it says it's fat-free or natural or low-cal or whatever the case may be. Just become more educated on foods that are going to benefit you, long term. And those processed foods typically are not good for you anyway. Finding ways to make whole foods more part of your diet, I think, is going to be a better suited option for anybody, but especially as we get older, our body just can't process all that processed stuff. So stay away from the processed stuff. Do more natural. Your body will thank you for it. Another thing that I was reading today that was, I think, was so key, because again, I have talked to so many women that say, well, gosh, I never really had to watch what I ate when I was in my 20s and even in my 30s. Well, guess what? Things change. Your body changes. Each decade, things kind of shift and kind of slow down, and things don't work like they used to. And so you may have been able to maybe just cut out a few things, and all of a sudden you were able to lose some weight, and that may not be the case anymore. So you have to kind of reevaluate where you are and not just think that, well, it worked for me back then, so it's going to work for me now. That's not always the case. So don't get hung up on relying on old methods that maybe worked for you in the past, because, as your body ages and changes, things are going to change, and how your body responds to things. So, these tips that I'm giving are going to be probably more likely to give you some results versus relying on maybe a quick, if you did kind of a crash diet or something, and all of a sudden you dropped 10 pounds and you were able to keep it off. That's probably not realistic at anybody in their 40s and up. So don't rely on those old methods. Another topic that is really touchy with a lot of people, and I get it, is limiting alcohol. Again, not saying restriction. I'm not saying to cut it out, but there's lots of studies that talk about wine being beneficial, and I don't disagree with that. But overindulgence in wine or any kind of alcohol is not good for you. And I think we all know that. It's just a matter of, is it worth it to us to continue to consume, or is it necessary for us to kind of reevaluate how much, and maybe just kind of, again, like I talked about with the desserts, and kind of allowing yourself for that stuff, but maybe not every day, and maybe, cutting back and not having as much, just to see how your body feels. It dehydrates your body, and it does so many other things to your body. This time of year is a very common time for people to have, get-togethers and cocktails and stuff. And so I'm not saying that you should give them up. Like I said, moderation is always kind of my go-to when it comes to that topic. Another big part of what I do is planning and having a game plan for my week, or at least my day. And I think so many people kind of get up and they're busy. You've got work, you've got kids, you've got activities, you've got things you've got to do, and you just head out the door without breakfast. You might have a cup of coffee, and then you kind of like, oh, I'm kind of hungry, so then you grab something and you kind of go through your day, and then all of a sudden you're starving, maybe at 2 o'clock, and you have a big lunch, and then dinner kind of becomes kind of a free-for-all, and maybe you don't eat dinner, you just kind of have snacks. And that's not a healthy way to eat, and it's not a good way for your metabolism to kick in. Your body actually functions much more efficiently if you feed it on a regular basis. And so I always recommend breakfast, a good breakfast. And then, you eat when you're hungry, but, within a few hours, typically I'm ready for that next snack or meal. So, listen to your body, but don't just have one meal a day and then kind of snack in between. Plan your day, know where you're going to be, kind of have an idea of what you can kind of plan on having, so that you're not getting to that starvation point. You should not be starving before you eat, because that's when we tend to overdo it, and our bodies have a harder time digesting our food when we kind of go from that starvation to overindulging. So having a plan is a great idea, like I said, for either just the day or even planning out your week, kind of having an idea. Proteins. So many women in particular do not get enough protein, and I can't stress that enough. I have spoken to so many that, they say, I just don't like meat, or I just kind of, I like to have, other things. And I get it. If you're a vegetarian, there's lots of options for protein, but if you're not a vegetarian and you do eat meat, you need to eat meat every day and several times a day. It should be a primary source of your food source. So, you need to find ways to get creative and find different ways to get that protein in your body. So filling up on protein and eating, like I said, a well-rounded diet, and not letting carbs be kind of your main source of snacking and energy. Carbs are great, and I do eat carbs, and I eat good carbs. I eat potatoes, regular potatoes. I eat quinoa and gluten-free oats. Sometimes I have brown rice. Don't do rice as much anymore, but there's a lot of grains and things out there that are available that are good for your digestion and that are beneficial to you. So, being educated on those things can be very helpful as well. I wanted to go back to quickly on when I mentioned the fat-free and avoiding that. What I do want to say is that you do need to eat fat. You need good fats, and there's lots of good fat options out there. There's lots of things that you can add to your the food that you eat that can give you that good fat that your body needs. Good fat is not going to make you fat. It's actually going to help you lean out. One of my favorites is hummus. Hummus and vegetables are a great option for a snack because there are carbs in vegetables, and then you're getting the good fat. Like I said, hummus and vegetables, avocado, and if you're going to have chips, again, I would limit those, but avocado, if you're making like a guacamole, which I do almost every week, several times a week, I will have it with like red peppers or with my eggs, or get creative again with that. Using olive oil and unsalted, just natural almond butter. I also love cashew butter, olive oil, avocado oil. Those are great options for good fats. You can cook with them. You can use them for dressings. Don't be afraid of the fats. They are definitely there for your benefit, and your body does need them. And finally, just staying hydrated. Water is your friend, and if you don't like water, find an infused water recipe that you do like, because it is so important to stay hydrated. It helps your body flush out toxins, and it helps to stave off hunger. If you feel like you're hungry, have a glass of water and see if maybe you were just thirsty. So drinking plenty of water is going to be a big benefit to you. And lastly, my last video in my blog series was about exercise. And so I just wanted to touch on that because it is important that you stay active for your mood and for your emotions. As women, we tend to be a little bit more emotional, and we can have those moments where we become emotional eaters. And so finding an outlet for those emotions and recognizing what triggers that emotional eating can help you find alternatives to that. And staying regularly active, exercising with cardio and weightlifting and that sort of thing are going to give your body those endorphins. It's going to help increase your metabolism. It's just going to make you feel better and give you more energy. So I hope that those tips were helpful, and I hope that you find this these resources helpful. And if you have any questions, or if you would like any more information about the groups that I do, where we do focus a lot on this, I'm just scratching the surface here, but these are great tips, and they will help you if you implement them. It's up to you. It's your choice. If you feel like you're not where you want to be and you want to make change, you got to be willing to change. So that is kind of my recommendation to you, that if you are not happy and you want to make a change, then you have to be willing to change. And it's up to you. If you're comfortable with where you are and you're willing to stay that way, then stay that way. But if you're not, then these are some great options for you. Thanks again for listening, guys. Be looking for my blog, and I'll do a video in the next couple days over kind of a little bit more about mental and mindset, and kind of preparing yourself for making these changes, and how that could be an impact in how you get results as well. Take care.